Okay, so this is problem 2.2.75. They're asking us to find the center and radius of the circle, and they give us x squared plus y squared minus 2x equals 0. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we need to group the terms that go together. So we'll group the x squared and the minus 2x together, and then we have a y squared, and over here just 0. Whenever you're going to try and find the center and radius of a circle, you have to put it in the center radius form. So that form looks like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, and that equals r squared. So that's our goal. That's where we want to go. Okay, so that's what we're trying to make it look like. And if we're going to write it as a quantity squared, then what we need to do is we need to complete the square on both of these. Now the y squared here, there is no completing the square because it doesn't have a middle term. It doesn't have a first powered term to it. Okay, so it's just y squared, and this portion of it will be centered at 0. Okay, but this one here, we can complete the square. So our b, and b is the coefficient of the x term here, is a -2. Then our completing the square process says that we would take a half of that -2, and we get a -1, and then we would take the -1 and square it, and we would get a +1. Okay, now this +1 is going to be what we're going to add to both sides of the equation. So it would look like x squared minus 2x plus 1, and then in order to balance this out, we have to add 1 to the other side. And the reason for that is I can't just add something in here without also changing the other side in the same way. Okay, so that keeps it balanced. So now it's in the form where we can factor it, and this will factor into x minus 1 as a quantity squared. And then we have plus y squared, and that is equal to 1. Okay, so it's in the form now that we can identify the center and the radius. So the center is going to occur at 1 for the x and 0 for the y. And the radius is always going to be the square root of whatever this number is over here, because of our form says that when we get it in this form, there's an r squared over there, and r is the radius. So r squared here is actually equal to 1. So if I was to take make that a little bigger for you. If I was to take the square root of both sides, our radius here is technically that's a plus or minus 1, but because we're talking about a radius, we're equivalent to 1. Okay, so we have a center of 1, 0 and a radius of 1.